Majado is a classic Pacific paradise, an island of swaying coconut trees, white sand beaches and turquoise waters, and some of the friendliest people you will ever meet. But behind the beauty are some troubling truths. By rights, these people should not be here. They were displaced from their home, Rongelap Atoll, some 180 kilometres away because of American nuclear testing. Now they face further displacement because of climate change. We are in the Marshall Islands, a low-lying atoll nation in the Western Pacific. This is where the US conducted much of its nuclear testing in the 40s and 50s, including hydrogen bombs. Out of 67 tests, the biggest was named Castle Bravo by the US military. The explosion at Bikini Atoll in 1954 was 1,000 times the size of the blast that destroyed Hiroshima. Radioactive fallout fell on nearby Rongelap, poisoning the people, the animals, the land and the sea. The people were evacuated 3 days later, but brought back 3 years later in 1957 and told it was safe. The epidemic of leukemias, birth defects and other health problems for the next few decades said otherwise.
They had many problems. They had a lot of reproductive problems, a lot of miscarriages, a lot of what they called jellyfish babies, where babies were born without any skeleton. And they had thyroid problems where 80% of the kids who were 10 years or younger on Rongelap at the time ended up having to have their thyroids taken out because they were affected by the radiation.
The people of Rongelap begged to be relocated somewhere safer, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. Until 1985, when Greenpeace stepped in to evacuate the atoll after US authorities refused.
We found people reluctant to move, but at the same time they were very sad. But they, as the people, had decided to move. They had already broken down quite a few of their houses and with plywoods and sheet metal and tin and bedding and stacked up on the beach. Some houses were still standing. They welcomed us. They were surprised that a ship actually showed up, but that was good. The senator had promised this is going to happen, and it did happen.
Land in the Marshall Islands is like your middle name. It's part of your identity, your inheritance. So what you're giving up is a lot by choosing to leave it. But that's how strongly people felt that it was unsafe to still stay there for the sake of their kids and their grandkids.
It turned out later that by doing so, they interrupted a secret scientific study on the effects of radiation on humans. The people of Rongelap were taken to Majado, a small island that the local people could spare in Kwajalein Atoll. Despite its beauty, Majado was a poor replacement. It did not have the food trees or the fish they had in Rongelap. Grace Arbon was 11 when she left Rongelap, and she remembers the hardship of not having enough food to eat. As an adult, she feels the loss of her home even more keenly.
We didn't have a home. It's rough. We didn't have enough. So in the beginning, it was kind of hard. And it still is. As I grow up, I began to understand how losing your home, your identity, it has a great impact.
Now the climate crisis is putting the whole Marshall Islands at risk, with rising sea levels causing coastal erosion, salty soil and drought. Queenwood Ann Jane, who runs the community garden on Majado, says it is getting harder to grow food.
Climate change is jadi kacang barpulen kata kerja kayak yang pai kujung lap no tare dalan ko bejatu ini yang ini cedera raja barat kata jakana rai bardom ngai kana ande kunya tay mino jalam lagi ini ya ilo alalan lo jatana lukundan ano bel kita rotin wal dengan jadi pun ingai Jeribuya Chino Lamnage.
Even though it's relatively close to Australia, it took us days of travelling to reach here. Several days to fly to the capital of the Marshall Islands, Majuro, via Hawaii, then 2 days of sailing on the Rainbow Warrior 3. We came ashore in small motorboats and we were greeted by the entire community lined up on the beach. We joined in community life. Church on Sunday, singing and dancing after meals, watching children playing, skipping or swimming in the sea. We also swam in the lagoon because it got very, very hot on the island. Most importantly, we were hearing stories from the people, including survivors who witnessed the mushroom cloud over 70 years ago. The whole island and many people who now live elsewhere gathered for a candlelight vigil on Majado to commemorate 40 years since they left Rongelap. After the event, a team of independent scientists would board the Rainbow Warrior 3 to test the radiation on Majado, Rongelap, Bikini and other islands.
I would go if they say it's zero contamination, zero radiation.